So people watch woodworkers on YouTube and want to get into the hobby of woodworking, and they look at the tools that these guys are using on there. You've got $1,000 domino joiner, Festool sanders, all this stuff. Table saws by SawStop for $2,000-$3,000 for some of these things. You've got to have special wiring and dust collection and all this stuff. So all these really expensive tools and shop setups and benches, and they say, you know what, I can't do woodworking. It's just too expensive. I can't get into it. Well, I am here today to tell you, if you're looking to get into woodworking, you can do it for under $100. What? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. The other day I was watching these videos and I realized people are thinking woodworking is too expensive. They want to get into it, but it's just too much money to buy all this stuff. Well, let me introduce you to traditional woodworking. Traditional woodworking is a great way to do woodworking without having to have all the power tools and the massive setup and all the space to have all these big giant tools and planers and jointers and saws and everything else, right? You can do this in a small little section. You don't even need a bench, really. It does help though, but all you need is a flat surface, a table like this. This isn't even a table. This is two sawhorses with a piece of plywood on it that I've thrown a drop cloth over. You could work off of this. Now, yes, the more expensive tools you get, usually the better quality of tools that you're gonna have. They're gonna last longer, edges are gonna go longer. So disclaimer, you do get what you pay for. However, if you're looking to get into the hobby, there are affordable ways to do it. Let me tell you, the place to go is Harbor Freight. So Harbor Freight has long been known for almost mechanics tools, cheap mechanics tools, screwdrivers, wrenches, socket wrenches, things like that. They have power tools as well, sanders and drills and saws and all kinds of stuff. However, we're looking to do this on a budget. So I'm gonna show you a bunch of tools today. I went and bought all these tools the other day, minus one or two that I've already had, to show you that you can buy all these tools and stay under $100 and get into woodworking. So the first item up is this saw. You're gonna need a saw, right? You gotta be able to cut wood. So they sell this saw by Portland Saw. It's a 10-inch Japanese style double-sided saw. Now, it's a pull saw. This is the Japanese kind of style that is kind of a craze right now. Everybody's kind of going to it. And they are good, solid saws. I went with this one over a traditional push saw because this gives you both a crosscut and a rip saw in one saw. It doesn't restrict you like a hard-backed saw, kind of like that, like a dovetail saw where you can only cut so deep with it. This allows you to do a lot of cool work. And if you only have one saw, this would be the saw to get into it. It gives you a nice wide saw blade here, long enough to cut in most things that you're gonna start with. You've got your traditional rip saw blade over here for cutting down the grain. And then you've got, on this side, you've got your crosscut blade. It comes with a nice rubber gripped handle to give you good grip. You could do a two-handed pull if you want to, if that's your thing. If you're getting into this, maybe your arm strength isn't there yet to be sawing all day on things. This is a really good saw for the price. This saw is $11.99. That's a great deal. But if you're getting into the hobby, this is a great entry-level saw. And it does have a hole in the saw that you can hang it up on your wall and show it off to all your friends.
Nice, nice.
So next up is another item from Portland Saw. This is your 6-inch coping saw. So in combination with this saw and this saw, you can do a lot of cool stuff. Coping saws are great for doing curves and scroll work and things like that, cutting dovetails. You cut your initial diagonal cuts for your dovetails, and then you can cut out your pins and stuff with this coping saw. Get in there, get the bulk of it out, and then use your chisels to chop it down. So works great on hardwoods, softwoods. They do sell the additional blades for these at dirt cheap prices. You can flip the blade around to cut internally, externally. You can do it if you want to cut on the push or the pull. However you want to set yours up, you can do. Again, gives a nice rubberized, comfortable grip, and it's decent. So it's a coping saw. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a coping saw. I think mine up there that I use with the wood handle on it, I think I spent $6 or $7 on it. This one at Harbor Freight is $5.99. great deal. All right, next up, sticking with the saws. This is a 12-inch flush cut saw. Do you need this? Not really, but if you're doing any type of like pin work or doweling work or something like that where you're putting dowels in and you want to cut that flush, sneeze.
Nice, Ron.
I sneezed. Oh, I'm not allowed to sneeze.
So anytime you're using doweling or anything like that where you're putting a dowel and a piece of wood, join two pieces together, you're gonna have some wood sticking out, or any type of thing where you need to just cut something flush with another piece of wood. Flush cut saws are great ways to get the bulk of that material off. So you can put this down flat on a piece of wood, saw off that doweling or that dovetail that's protruding too far, or the tenon or something. Maybe you have a through tenon that's sticking out too far. You can cut the bulk of it off with this and then come back through with your chisel or your hand plane and plane those down. This saw here, $6.99 Harbor Freight, comes with a nice hardwood handle, and it gives you 6.5 inches, I believe. 6.5 inches of, 6.25 inches of saw blade. All right, next up, it's getting away from sawing wood and getting down to marking wood, getting your lines set, your lines cut, making sure things are square and straight. The first thing I've got up is this 6-inch combination square. So I use a combination of a 12-inch and a 6-inch square all the time on all my woodworking most of the time. The 6-inch I go to a lot for checking edges and small pieces. If you're doing smalls and stuff, these things really come in clutch if you're trying to do, even in small spaces and things like that, the 6-inch comes in great. So this square here, again, $5.99 from Pittsburgh. Great deal. It's got a little scribe in it. It's got a spirit level in it, and it does the 45 and the 90 just as well. They're great. This is a great little square. So this is your first thing to get into actually marking and laying out your wood projects. So in continuation with marking and laying out your layouts, I found this new set here. I haven't seen this before at Harbor Freight. This is the 12-inch combination square set. So it does give you your 12-inch square in combination with the 6-inch one, right? But in addition, they also give you a center finder, so you can take these individual pieces off of this. You don't have to have this whole thing, but this will give you center when you're on a board and you're trying to find center. You can put this on the corners and come at it from two angles. It will give you the center of that piece. So in addition to this and this, they also give you a protractor for finding angles and marking specific angles. So this is a great set to get into things. No, you don't need the hundreds of dollar woodpecker, squares and levels. Are those cool? Of course they are. But like I said, you're getting into it. This is a great option to go. And only for 3 tools, this is only $8.99.
That's what she said.
Next up from Pittsburgh is a 6-inch combination mortise gauge. This is going to be helping for laying out your mortises, for doing any type of marking, for thinning out wood, planing out wood down to a specific level. Marking gauges I use all the time. These are great to have. So it's made out of hardwood. It's got brass inlays in it. You can see there. It's got a scribe built into it for a depth gauge, and it also has the extra ability to do the mortising. So instead of one pin, you now have 2 pins that you can do and lay out 2 lines at the same time, consistent all the way across. You don't have to mark one and then reset it, mark the other. This is a great way to lay out your mortises. $7.97, you're getting a wood marking gauge, a hardwood marking gauge with brass. That is ridiculously cheap. So next up in marking and layout, I found this 6-inch T-bevel. Now, this is a plastic one by Pittsburgh. It does have a ruler built into it, which I think is kind of cool. This is a great way for keeping angles. So you want a specific angle, say you're making one of a Christmas tree decoration. All those angles are cut at 30 degrees. You set this once at 30 degrees, and now you can put this on every piece and mark that consistent line all the way across so you have the same angles all the time. This just to have hanging up there to use. You don't use it often, but when you need it, it comes in handy. This thing is $2.99. You cannot beat this deal. So finally, I threw this in there. I don't even know that I count it in the price, but I was going to check out and I found this. So it's just a little, retracto utility knife thing. I think it was $1 at checkout in like one of the little dollar bins. So what I would use this for if you're getting into woodworking is making knife walls with it in combination with your squares and things. You know, we use a layout knife, a marking knife or whatever to cut knife walls so that we get absolute lines. Sometimes pencils don't work too well or they're too wide or too thick. You can use this to score and break the fibers in the wood so that you don't get tear out on initial cuts, things like that. You don't need a real fancy marking knife. Like there are real fancy ones out there that have, you know, wood turned handles and fancy double-edged blades. You can just get one of these dollar throwaway retractable utility knives and it works just as well. You might just have to angle it a little bit more so that that bevel that comes on these is in line with your slide rule. So making a twist like that just saved you a whole bunch of money. And every time it gets dull, you take a pair of pliers, you snap off, and you've got a brand new razor sharp edge that you can just keep on marking with. Let's get on to chopping with this, a 6-piece Windsor design wood chisel set. I've got videos on my channel about this set before. This set's $9.99, and they give you 6 pieces of hardwood handled chisels that with some modifications, again, check that video out, we can turn this chisel set into really cool looking chisels. You can use these straight out of the package for $9.99, put a bevel on it, or sharpen it on your stones or whatever, and you're good to go, right? You've got these, you can start chopping out mortises, you can start chiseling things, shaping, carving, whatever you want to do with this set is a great deal. Now, with a little bit of time, you can turn that chisel into this. This is what we made out of these in a previous video, and these are legit my most favorite chisels I have. They are softer steels, you're gonna have to sharpen them more. However, I haven't noticed having to sharpen that much more than I did with my Irwins or my Sweethearts. These hold an edge much better than I thought they would for a $9.99 chisel. Again, they're still not great quality steel, but they do hold an edge rather well. They, with a little bit of work, polish up really nice, and reshaping of the handle, they become a lot more comfortable in the hand. I use these all day long and never get tired of them. I reach for them all the time. These are great chisels. $9.99, Windsor design, 6-piece chisel set. They give you everything from 1/4 inch up to 1.5 inches. Great deal. So in addition to these chisels, you're gonna need a hammer to chop your mortises, do things like that. This Pittsburgh 4-in-1 quick change mallet or hammer, multi-headed hammer, is a great deal. I used another one kind of similar to do all my chisel work with, as well as assembly. So when you're going to assemble wood projects together and you're hammering those dovetails together or hammering that mortise or tenon into the mortise, having a non-marring hammer. You don't want to use a metal hammer on that because you're just going to put dings and dents into your work. Having stuff like this with a soft head that you can assemble things or do chisel work with, great deal. I honestly forgot what I paid for this. I think it was around $3 or $4. So you get 4 heads with it. You do get a steel head if you wanted to do some actual metal work with this thing. Doesn't say how many ounces it is, but it's heavy enough to do work with, light enough that your arm's not going to be killing you at the end of the day.
Sounds like you had a pretty special and intimate relationship with this hammer.
Rubber handle, fiberglass shaft, great deal. Pick one up today. Goes great with your chisels. So we just did a video on this a few weeks ago. This is the 11-piece Windsor design wood carving set. So if you're looking to get into carving or you just want real small chisels to be able to do fine work, they do have 3 flat edge chisels in here, as well as some gouges and things like that for making cool designs in your woodwork. If you don't want to get into too big a wood carving, you can do some cool stuff with it. 11-piece set is a great deal, $14. Pick it up if you want to. I wouldn't use it in combination with the hammer. These are more like push butt chisel type things, but a great way if you're looking to get into that carving style of woodwork. All right, so let's get on to some clamping. First up is this 2-inch spring clamp, right? Don't knock these. I've got a whole bunch of them up there hanging up in the air. I use these all the time. They're got rubberized ends so they don't mar your wood up, and they have enough tension on them that they can hold pieces together great. From time to time when you're cutting, you'll get tear out or something on the end. You didn't mean to, you break a piece off, you got to glue that piece back on. These come in clutch to just throw some glue on, squeeze those things back together. putting two small pieces together, laminating pieces, doing whatever. These things come in handy. I'd pick a bunch of these up. Honestly, this one here is $1.99. So you can pick up a whole mess of these for dirt cheap, under $10, you know, for a whole bunch of them, or you can pick up like one or two. I picked up one as an example for today, but again, $1.99. These things are great. Next up is this 12-inch F-style clamp from Pittsburgh. This is a great clamp. I've got a few of these up there that I use. It locks solid. It ain't going nowhere. It's got a good screw on it, and the bar honestly never slips, and it does come with rubberized ends, non-marring ends, so it doesn't mar up your wood when you clamp. Having a bunch of these 12-inch ones, if you're doing small projects, is great. This clamp here was $3.99. This is $3.99. It works just as well. It's got a great comfortable rubber grip so your hand doesn't slip. You can really torque down on it if you want to, and they don't flex at all really that much. In this way, like I'm clamping down, even fully out at 12 inches, it doesn't really flex that much. These are pretty solid. They got cast, I believe that's cast aluminum, could be cast iron ends on here. This is a great entry-level clamp. These are great, $3.99, amazing deal. So to step it up a little bit more, if you do want something more than this F-style clamp, we now have the 24-inch bar clamp. This is made by Pittsburgh. Paul Sellers uses these. These are great clamps. With a little bit of extra work, I've got videos on that, on how to do it. You've got these really cool, you could add these plywood pads on it so it doesn't mar anything. You can add a piece of wood inside of this to really stiffen it up so it doesn't really twist or flex on you. These things are great. You could set them down flat on the bench and use paneling and things with them, keep making sure things keep flat and straight. These work really well. I've got a whole mess of these. They come in all different sizes. These are $11.99 each. So for $11.99, you get this massive 24-inch bar clamp that is just super stout. These are great clamps. Check out the video I've done on that before. One of my most popular videos on the channel. It's really great clamp. I would pick up a bunch of these, but for today's example, we've got the one for $11.99. So you're gonna need to get into planing, and you're gonna see this when you're going through Harbor Freight, this number 33 bench plane by Windsor Design. Do not buy this thing. It is a giant piece of junk. I don't know why they keep pushing this thing. It is a good deal at the time. You'll look at it. I mean, out of the box, this thing does look pretty dang nice. It's a little small. It's actually real small to do a lot of great woodworking with, but if you're getting into it, just don't buy it. You'd be much better off hitting up a garage sale or something and finding yourself a Stanley number 4 or even a Stanley number 5. Avoid eBay. Everybody that's selling these planes on eBay right now thinks they're worth hundreds of dollars. You can usually find these at a swap meet or garage sale for like 10 bucks. Go home, put a little bit of work into it, restoring it. I've got videos on how to do that as well, how to set this one up for a scrub plane, how to set this up as a smoother. You can get a combination of the two or just one if you're getting started. And with a little bit of sweat equity, you can have a really good quality tool that'll last a long time. They do have a combination of a number 4 smoother and a block plane, it looked like, and it looked like a much lesser quality than even the Windsor Design one. I've never reviewed it. I didn't pick it up. I don't know. If you guys are interested in that, I'll go pick it up and do a review on it, but I looked at it from the initial thoughts. It looked cheap to me. Planing, Harbor Freight doesn't have a great option for planing in my opinion, unless that other one is just better than it looks in the packaging. But honestly, find yourself an old Stanley, fix it up. It doesn't even have to be a Stanley. There's a bunch of different brands out there. Just find a decent one and restore it. So that gets you into planing, chopping, sawing, marking, clamping. Everything you need is right here to start getting into woodworking. Yes, you're going to need more stuff as time goes on, or you get more into the hobby, but starting out, all this stuff in combination, total right here, is a great deal. You're around $100 to get into woodworking. Everything you need tool-wise is right here at Harbor Freight. Yes, the quality is not the best, but this is plenty good to get into a hobby and start getting into woodworking. You don't need that $1,000 domino joiner. You don't need the Festool super cool sander with dust collection and everything else. You don't need all that stuff. If you want to build woodworking projects for your family, you want to build that bookshelf for your daughter or your son or something, or you want to build a box, a keepsake box to put your watches in or whatever you want, you could do that with these tools right here. So check it out. Don't knock Harbor Freight. They're pretty decent stuff. They're not sponsors of the channel, although I would like them to be. So I'll put links to these products down in the description below. They're not affiliate links or anything. I don't make anything off of it. But if you're interested, click them, buy them, go into the store. All these I bought in the store the other day, so none of them are online only. So anyway, that's it for today. If you like this type of content, let me know down below by clicking the subscribe button. Click the bell so that you don't miss other future videos like this. Comment down below what you think is good. What did I miss? What am I not thinking of to show you guys? I think this is a great way to get into it, but I may have missed something. If I did, let me know. If I got everything down that you need, let me know down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up whether you like this video or not, because I like to be thumbed.
That's what she said.
And I'll see you on the next one.